It's just a matter of how bad do you want it. Like you said, in those hard days when we're in the attic and we're sweating, or it's the dead of winter and our hands are cold, like what gets us through it is the just refusal to quit. So if you have like that tenacity, that grit, I call it grit sometimes, you're just gritty enough to make it through the hard days, you can learn anything.
Hola, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Reliable HVACR podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed, like, comment. If you're listening to this over on the podcast, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever it is, it's a bit available on all platforms. Please leave us a 5-star review to help us get out to more people. I love doing this because it is good conversations with good people. Anybody is welcome. If you guys ever want to be a guest on this show, if you guys listen or watch any of my content, go ahead and message me. Come on, tell your story. That's what it's about. If there's any sponsors that want to reach out and support the show, go ahead and also reach out to me. My email's posted everywhere. ReliableHVACR956@gmail.com is how you can get a hold of me. Speaking of sponsors, today's episode is brought to you by my favorite CRM, Jobber. If you guys want to use a software that helps us boost our business, whether it's invoicing, quoting, scheduling, keeping track of your team, price lists, our maintenance plan is in there. Now they help you with marketing and running campaigns through emails, all that stuff. And you can talk to your customer through texting in the customer hub. They can request work. You never have to pick up the phone. They can actually request work online through text. You can tell them that you're on the way. All the stuff that you would expect from a professional CRM. If you guys want a free trial and discount, go to getjobber.com/reliable HVACR. Also, VETO Pro Pack, the best tool bags in the game. I know people tell me the first thing is always the price. Let me tell you, other brands that I used to get at the supply house never lasted me. So in that short amount of time, I was buying several of those bags when I could just buy one VETO Pro Pack tool bag. And if you want to go check them out, go to vetopropack.com. You can also get them at any supply house or place that you buy equipment. They usually have VETO Pro Pack, and they just came out with the MB3 Blackout, which I am super excited for because I actually had a hand in some major design in that bag, and I hope to continue to work with that. But I use the MB3 Blackout as my favorite. I also use the Wheelers. I use a lot of their tote bags. I even have something in my van that just holds bottles and miscellaneous things, and it's made by them too. They have a bag for every scenario, so you won't be disappointed. Go check out VETO Pro Pack. And if you go to their website, go to the customer profile, you'll find me in there. You can learn a little bit more about me, and you'll probably see a lot of these YouTubers and people on Instagram that you might watch in that section. And a big thanks to all the sponsors that make this show possible and moving forward. You'll hear more from Local HQ Marketing, NAVIEN, and DIVERSITECH throughout the show. And don't forget that I have another podcast/live stream every Thursday night, the HVAC Nights. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. It's me, Jake, and Curtis. You might know them already. And we just talk shop about our work week and life stuff. It gets crazy, it gets uncensored. It's a fun time. So come check us out live every Thursday on YouTube, and it's available on all podcast platforms later that week. If you ever want to keep up to date with anything that I use, whether it's tool recommendations, Camel City Mill socks have been really great for me, and the Huxley work pants. I have discounts for a lot of these things that I use. You can find them in my website, reliablehvacr.net. So like I said, tool link, recommendations, discounts. I got merch there. You can request stickers. I will have my arm sleeves up for sale soon, so make sure to keep an eye out there. And if you just remember to go to the website, you'll always keep up to date with everything. And really quick, I just want to invite you guys to our Discord. We made an HVAC Nights Discord server. You'll find it in the link below or on reliablehvacr.net, hvacnights.com. You can find it there. I'll leave a link. Everybody is welcome to join. I'm still learning it. If you guys know anything about Discord, help me out, help me learn, tell me what to add to it. And we can go from there. So stuff will be added as I figure it out. But like I said, you can talk about your hobbies, sports, shop talk, anything in the HVAC world that you want to discuss or ask a question on, specific troubleshooting or help with things. I want to add like manuals and little codes and tips and tricks and stuff like that. I want all of that in that community. So go check out our Discord, join it today, and let's get some conversations going. On today's episode, we have the one and only Install Her, Rachelle Martins. So I really enjoyed the conversation we had. In her experience coming from something completely different, her husband talked her into getting into the HVAC trade with him at his job. They work for a company and they do really good work together, and they obviously complement each other really well, and they kind of do that work life balance that we all want to achieve in this trade and industry. So it's cool to see that what they're doing, and how they're succeeding in that. And we talk about life, kids, work, and all the little things in between. So I really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope you guys do as well. Enjoy the episode. I don't know, I think we're finally dipping into the 80s here. I don't know if it's
Yeah,
cold over there.
yeah, we're getting into that like weird season where there's sometimes work and sometimes not. We usually stay pretty busy, but we were actually off on Thursday because there was no install for us. So we work for 4 out of the 5 days this week.
Oh, it's not bad. I mean, I think, and I was talking to this or about this with the guys, Curtis especially. I was like, how do you guys, it's like a thing you anticipate, the slow season, shoulder season, it's called different things, but like some people just, I think he was trying to get more work because he hates doing maintenance. So he went like, you start going door to door or calling or whatever it is, because we do service. And my whole thing is maintenance. So that's how I stay busy. And everybody's different. You guys do strictly install, right? Like you and your husband?
Yeah, we're just an install. We work for someone else. So the company we work for has different departments. So yeah, just install.
Is that what you want or prefer to do, or would you look into service work, or do you just want to do the installs?
Well, I like the install. I like the balance of it, the how we kind of get to set our own pace for the day. There's some days where maybe the install goes smooth. I'm home early, before the kids are even home, so that's really nice.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't have that like I'm stuck here till 5, 6, and I don't know what time o'clock,
Yeah.
and it's more, yeah, more flexible, I think. Or even the company we work for spoils us a little bit because they're flexible with like, if I have to get to something in the afternoon, like I can leave, and Igor can finish, and it's good in that way. So I like it because the money is good, the
Yeah.
hours are good, but it's physically it's hard.
Oh, it's demanding. I'll get into all that stuff, but like on the service side, yes, like you're gonna be doing those late nights or whatever it is because of the demand, right? Like an AC's down or something. Even on my side, refrigeration can be a little bit demanding because of restaurant. I stick to the restaurants. I like to do that kind of stuff. It's just what I got used to. And if their freezer goes down, if anything goes, product goes bad, they're gonna be calling you in the middle of the night. I need this fixed now. So on the service side, you're gonna have those long hours, things like that. But I guess on the service side, you're looking more into, hey, I can run my own business at one point, and then kind of dial back the hours and stuff like that. Even though like during the summer, it's just a free for all. You get called in left and right. Like during the summer, I was working 7 days, 6 days out of the week.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was actually talking about this with some of the guys I talked to from Instagram the other day about like, I don't know. I can see it kind of both ways. Like it's good to have job security where like, you're on call and you can kind of, make extra money, or you can turn it into a lead or turn it into something else. And I totally understand that. But at the same time, like I also really value time with family and time for
Yes.
rest. So
So
kind of
Um,
complicated.
yeah, I'm sorry, but it's like with me, and I tell people because I've had a lot of like, I had one that was 18 years old on this show a couple weeks ago, and I was like, yeah, the young guys, the young people, take advantage of those younger years, right? Like when I was younger, I was like, yeah, I'm up for it. I started in my early 20s, and at that point, there's no family, there's no kids, there's none of that, right? You're just
Mhm.
working. You hit the ground running. You're trying to get everything done, and it's like, yeah, I can take on more. I can take on this, more hours, whatever it is, and then work your way up. So if you get into the trade at a younger age, take advantage of those years that you can, especially your body before it breaks down or anything like that. Before you have family, and like now, and I have this argument too with people because I'm a business owner, right? We have a family business, and I know other business owners and stuff like that, and they're like, they want to build it up so big, and I'm like, how do you have the time? Like I have little ones. I have a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old, and I pride myself, like I make enough money. We do really well, but like I'm not looking to work those long nights, those weekends, or anything like that. So I, on the service side, as far as like running a business, I get to say when I'm like, no, we can reschedule, we can do this or we can do that. I'm gonna go to my kids' events. I'm gonna take them out on the weekends. Like I need that family time, and that's worth as much to me as like anybody else thinks. Overtime pay or anything like that. I rather have that value of my family time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of nice to hear that because you're running your own business, right?
It's
And
yeah,
you
it's a balance.
Yeah, and you're still prioritizing that. So I feel like sometimes where we work for like a big kind of corporation type company, sometimes I feel like the people at the top forget about that. I think
Yep.
they try, but it's just the business is just it's so in demand and it's so I want this and I want it right now, that sometimes you don't always get that. So it's good that you try to do that.
That
I
and
also have an 8-year old. I wanted to point that out. Our kids are the same age.
what? How old?
8 and 10. You said they're 8 and
Really?
10?
Oh
Yeah.
wow. Yeah. My son actually just turned 11 the other day. We took him out, had a little party. He invited way more friends than I thought he was going to, and I was like, okay, all right, we're gonna get everybody covered and get their game passes and all that stuff. I was like, okay, geez, I was expecting like 3 kids, and like I don't know, 6 or 7 kids showed up and their whole
Yeah.
families, and I was like, damn.
You don't wanna leave out the little siblings, but you're like, "I didn't get enough."
I was like,
Yeah,
all
it's
right. Yeah, and then our daughter, oh, I'm sorry, but our daughter is 8, and then her birthday is next month, and then we got Christmas, and it's just like a whole. I feel like it's all year because it's funny the way everything lined up. My whole family has like starting in what is it? Starting in May. There's a birthday every month, and then like now with my girlfriend and her daughter, they finished the year off there. So like every month there's something going on.
Yep, that sounds like my family too. I
Yeah,
have to keep it
so
on the calendar because I can't remember.
oh, I know. I've gotten to that age where I just write notes for everything, and I keep reminders. I keep everything to keep me in check. This podcast is presented by Local. Local works tirelessly to help HVAC contractors rank higher on Google. They use an attack methodology to make sure that contractors dominate their local service areas and increase their market share and generate higher revenue. Reach out to Local at localhq.com/reliable. Mention me or the Reliable HVACR podcast, and you'll get 2 months of SEO for free.
Yeah, like sometimes people ask us like what's next for us, and I feel content right now in what we're doing, in the money we're bringing in the balance with our life, because with our kids being the age they are, and you probably feel the same way, it's like it feels like you're in that time where like they still want you there, right? Like they
Mm-hmm.
still crave your attention, the time with you, and like pretty soon in just a few short years they're going to be teenagers and they're going to isolate, they're going to think you don't know anything, mom or dad.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to just soak it up as much as I can now because I'm just anticipating like it's not going to last forever. So, and they're not babies anymore.
No, and the kids, I mean, they're the sweetest things. Like they know right from wrong and all that stuff, but that the attitude comes out. Like I'm like, they're not even teenagers yet. I'm not ready for this.
So much like like I try to be patient because I know that they're going through like
Yeah.
hormonal stuff during this time,
Oh
and I
yeah.
try so hard, but I'm like, you are twisting every part of me.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah, and I have a point. You gotta discipline them. It's not what it was
oh,
back in the day, and especially I forgot who I talked to. Oh, we had a whole conversation on HVAC nights about because I brought up, I was like, back in the day, our schools used to use a paddle on us, right? Like that was a whole thing back in the day, and now like don't touch anybody. But I don't. I try to talk to them as much as I can. I try to be patient with them. I understand what they're going through because every time they do something and I get upset, I have to like count to 10 or do something. But I remember I'm like, what was I doing at his age? I'm like, oh crap. Okay. I was like, that's totally normal. It might be like a little bit. I feel like it's like a year earlier that he's doing things than I did, but
mhm.
you have to remember like back in the day, it was the same thing. It's just now you got your own little kids running
Yeah,
around doing those things.
we were a little bit more sheltered back then. Just
Yeah,
yeah.
but
But that reminds me of a story I want to tell you about discipline because it was literally just on Wednesday night. I had my youngest, it was his last soccer practice of the year, and
Mhm.
they did this fun little game where it was like kids versus parents, and the soccer academy has like 40 players. So if you can just imagine on one soccer field, like 40 players and then just like all these parents, it was like chaos, but it was good. It was all for fun. Everyone was having fun. And they actually did the favor of letting my older son play with the kids. And my older son, he's the one with the attitude and everything. And he starts like cutting up on the field, like, whoa, come on, ref, like being so disrespectful. And I raised my kids better than that. So I
Yeah.
wasn't happy, so in front of all these parents, I dragged him off the field, and like I was trying to like go take him behind some parked cars for some privacy so I could tell him about himself.
Oh yeah.
This other kid who was about the same age as him, about 10, I think, followed us, questioning me the whole way. Why can't he play? That's not fair. Shouldn't he be included? Why are you gonna let him play? Why are you
Hmm.
so mad? Why are you like just going on and on? And I was like, I'm going to
Yeah.
hit this kid. Where's your mom?
Oh my! I got like we had that like I told Jake that too because Jake has kids that are young too, and I'm like, like you can. I think our kids are raised pretty well. Like they're respectful, they know better, this and that, but they're friends. You can't control other kids and how they act, right? So like
Yeah.
the whole thing is like I'm trying to tell him, I don't care what your friends do or talk about or anything like that. You like we raised you better than that, right? So that's the whole thing because his friends at school, like I have that same feeling sometimes. I'm like, where are your parents or what are they doing? Like, and then not, now they do phone calls and everything, and I listen. I mean, I don't care. I listen to their conversations, so I keep up to date with what they're doing, and I'm just like, okay, like you know better, but you cannot control like they're at school, they have all these friends. Those parents might not be around as much. There's different things.
Yep.
But speaking of your kids, you said you had a baseball game. How did that go? How'd the kids do?
Well, they're out, so they didn't have one today because they were doing like single elimination playoffs. He had one on Monday, and then he had one on Wednesday. So he won Monday, and then he lost Wednesday. So we're done, and now we're officially done with all sports for the season.
Do you have all boys or
Yeah, just the two boys.
okay? Are they both into sports?
Yes.
Oh,
So
okay. So
soccer,
y'all are very
soccer.
busy.
Yeah.
How is that hard to balance? Because like mine is showing interest, thankfully, in basketball because that's my sport, and I was like, man, like it's gonna be kind of difficult, but I assume it's hard to do.
It's worth it. It's definitely worth it. I am so about youth sports because I feel like youth sports teaches people a lot about how to accept coaching and accept correction. And I always say it, coachable kids become employable adults. And so I think it's so important for, all kids to play some kind of sport or do something where they're being coached. Because I think you learn a lot about how to accept criticism and grow. So
That is my whole thing right now because like I said, I'm excited that he shows interest. I mean, he knows I like basketball, but he's actually pretty good at it. Like I tell him, I'm like, no, like, because we did a basketball camp a few weeks ago, or no, during the summer, and there was kids that could not even, because it was on regular, it was at a high school, regular courts, regular balls, everything, and there was kids that couldn't even like touch the rim with the ball. Right? They shoot. I'm like, my kid is making baskets and doing things. He doesn't know how to take instruction well. Right? He tells us something. He's very forgetful. He gets that from me. I'm like, I'm sorry, kid. You know, you got that from me. But you know, running plays and stuff like that, he was having a hard time. I'm like, no, like, you should keep at it, right? And my whole thing is like, I don't care if he doesn't have to love it as much as I did. I was watching Michael Jordan, then the Lakers and all that, like when I was a kid. Like my dad used to watch games with his friends, and I would watch. I got into it, and I played every day outside on my court. I was like super intense about it. I don't need him to be like that. I just want him to try it. And like you said, just to be coached, to take instructions, that whole system of practice and games and all that. That's what I want him to get out of it. Same thing with our daughter. Like if because she's shown interest too. I was
Yeah,
like,
and
you don't have to take it super serious. It's just I want you guys to experience it.
yeah, that's where we're at too. Like with our kids, like I'm super competitive. Igor, my husband, he's super competitive. So like we want them to win, but winning's not it. Like when I'm watching them play and I know they're not even trying, it
That
kills me.
yes.
I'm never going to be mad at you for losing, but you have to try your best. And the same thing goes for, work. Like I'm never going to be mad at a new guy for not knowing what to do because he doesn't know. But like if he's just flat out not trying to learn, then
That
why?
pisses me off so bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, like with my kid, and like we would tell him like, just try, because like there was a couple times where he didn't want to or whatever it was, because he felt like he was doing bad. I'm like, no, you're doing good. Just, keep. And that's another thing, right? Building confidence, stuff like that. That helps with you later in life, work, all that. I think confidence goes a long way. And I always tell people, don't be cocky, be confident. And that can help you at your workspace as well. I mean, that all ties in together. That's why I said I just want him to try it out and get that experience, and kind of get that out of it.
Yeah, that was like me when I first jumped into HVAC. I knew nothing. Like I didn't know anything, and I just went in there with this attitude, like I'm gonna give it my very all. Like I'm gonna try really hard, but if I fail, then I always have this to fall back on. And then when I actually went in and started, and I learned really quickly, and I found that I was so interested in it, and that it came easy to me because I was enjoying what I was doing, and like we talked about the work life balance, like I just went with it. But, I didn't know what it was going to be like. I didn't even know if I was going to physically be able to do it. But I was like, well, I don't like what I'm doing now, so I've got nothing to lose. And
So
here I am.
how long have you been in the trade officially?
Almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years January.
Man, I talk to so many people that are in that three year range, and it's crazy. So getting into HVAC, I mean, like you said, it physically demanding. There's a lot to learn, especially because you didn't do any trades before, right?
No, I was a social worker.
And how was that?
Stressful.
Well, you deal with people and like these circumstances, right? Because like as far as like social worker, was there something specific that you helped with?
I was in geriatrics, so like geriatric healthcare.
Okay.
So my frustration wasn't really the people. Like I loved the people. It was like corporate policies and how insurance companies run plans of care and healthcare. And then COVID. COVID was like the icing
Mm.
on the cake. I'm like, I'm out of here.
So what got you into HVAC?
Well, all right, here's my whole life story.
Go ahead. Today's episode is also brought to you by NAVIEN. If you haven't seen it yet, NAVIEN has entered the HVAC space in a big way with the new NPF hydro furnace. This hydronic forced air furnace delivers industry-leading variable capacity operation from 15 to 100% in both natural and propane configurations. You can learn more at navieninc.com. I also want to thank DIVERSITECH. They simplify your work. They have everything a contractor needs to complete a job. That goes from equipment mounting, condensate, management, tools, maintenance chemicals, electrical components, indoor air quality, and much more. They have different branches under the same umbrella. More than likely, you're already using some of their products or tools. So go check out DIVERSITECH.com, and it's your one-stop shop for everything HVAC.
All right. So I met my husband through my father, who ran an HVAC company. My husband, before I knew him, was working at a restaurant that my sister worked at, and he was looking to make a change. And my sister suggested he come and do HVAC with my dad. And then so I met him through my dad because he ran the business out of the house. And then we started dating, and then, we ended up moving to North Carolina. Fast forward to my whole story I just shared with you about getting frustrated with my job. He was like, he had been asking me for years, like, to just join him. And I was like, oh no, I'm good where I'm at. I'm good where I'm at. And then I wasn't. And I was like, yes, when can I start?
So you kind of like blew off the idea because, like, I don't think HVAC or the trades are really, like, I guess, intriguing to most people at first, right? You don't know what it is.
Well, in hindsight, like I grew up with it. Like I knew what it was because my dad did it, and so I was exposed in that way. But because I had never seen females in the trade on the tools, like I never thought that it was an option for me. And it wasn't like my dad was ever like, no, but like I never like showed interest because I didn't see it. So that's kind of where my whole sharing everything I do on Instagram kind of came from, because I want to be somewhere where people, young girls, young people in general, not just girls, but can see it. And so if you can see it, then you know what's possible, right?
So your thing was you didn't see any women doing it because, like, my dad growing up, he was an electrician and I saw it. I just never put two and two together. I was like, man, I'm gonna be a basketball player. I was hell bent on doing sports at that point, and I just didn't want to do anything else.
Yeah, and then at that time too, and probably still today, like it was really being pushed, like you finish high school and you went and got a 4-year degree or more. Like that was what was expected. So that was kind of the
Oh
route
yeah, that played
and
into it for me too because I mean, like you said, my parents never told me no, but like there was there was always like a plan of like, okay, now you need to go to college. Like they basically told me you need to do something after high school, and that was my whole thing. So before I got out of high school, I got a job. I worked at Sam's Club, right? So they couldn't tell me anything. I was like, I already have a job. Paid for my own things, and my mom is really good with numbers, and she always had notepads of like budgets and everything. So I got that from her, and I was like, I have my job. And I wanted to move out and everything. And then the next thing was like, okay, well, I took a year off after high school from school because I didn't want to do college. I was trying to push it, further back. And then I was like, okay, I took a year off. Now I went to, college, got my basics out of the way. Still didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. And it just never crossed my mind to get into the trades. But my dad had switched over to food service, and then he was starting his own business. And he's like, I really need a refrigeration guy. And that kind of piqued my interest there.
oh, cool. I didn't know that.
I remember seeing you, and the name caught my eye. HVAC installer,
Mm-hmm. Like
catchy,
that?
catchy. So then, like, working with your husband, you guys work for a company, obviously. Did they have any issues hiring you or anything like that?
No, they basically went off of Igor's word. Like Igor kind of vouched for me and was like, yep, I think she can handle it. And, when can she start? And my boss's response was like, yeah, well, if it doesn't work out, then, I don't want you to blame me for a divorce. And he's like, okay. And then here we are all these years later.
Do you ever mess with him? Do you guys work together like a lot?
Me and my husband?
Yeah.
Every day.
Okay, so you guys are like
We're
us.
install crew. Yeah, together
Okay,
every day.
okay, you're assigned together. Do you ever mess with him at work?
Oh yeah.
I've seen a couple of your videos, and I'm like it seems fun, but like it's just funny to me.
Yeah.
You either, well, you got to have fun, because if you don't have fun, you're gonna be miserable the whole day.
Yeah, and I think it's actually worked out good for him too, because you probably know the industry and what it's like. This is how it goes. Green helper, you spend all this time to train him, he starts knowing what he does, and then he moves, and then you get another green helper, and then you got to train him up. And so for him, he's had the same helper now for 4 years, which is like, how often does that happen? And so we really like nailed down our routine, so we're able to do things more efficiently, faster, and better, because it's just us every day. You know, he has his role, I have mine. We help each other with everything. Whereas with some crews, it's like a lot falls on the lead because, you know, they have all the knowledge and experience, and then the helper kind of just does whatever the helper can do. But for us, it's like we're more equals. So like everything he does, he would trust me to do. Everything I do, I trust him to do. And so we're not with each other physically like the whole day, but yeah, it just works.
So then, when you started, I mean, like, and that worked out for everybody because if he can rely on you and count on you, and y'all get the job done better, efficiently, quicker, that's great. When you started, then, because like you said, he was trying to convince you to go over, and you finally went. Did you have any concerns or anything like trying to get into HVAC, or like what did you think about it when you started?
Um, my concerns were that I hate looking dumb. Like I want to present myself as like I've got this, I know what I'm doing, like all capable and everything like that. So like when it came like to be in front of the customer and like they had a question and I didn't know, like I hated that. So like I almost wanted Igor with me at all times because I never wanted to be caught in a situation where I didn't know the answer to something and look dumb. I just hate looking dumb. So I think that's what motivated me too, to like expedite my learning. Like I was just trying to ask questions about everything, look things up online. Like Igor was probably so over me because I would like in the truck on the way to work, on the way back from work, like at home, I'd be like, well, what about this? Like, what does that mean? When you say this, what do you mean by that? And just like constantly. But I think for that reason, I caught on pretty quick.
That is exactly, I think, the common factor of a lot of the guys that I talk to that are where they are within like a year or 3 years or whatever it is, because you bug the hell out of your guy that trains you to ask questions.
I think it makes a huge difference too. So like now that I'm in it, I do a lot of training of the newer guys, and like sometimes they want to start like 10 steps ahead, but I'm like, no, we either start with the basics. Like you have to know what you're installing. I know you're not a service tech, but you have to know what all these parts do and why it's important for you to do things in a certain way for it to run right. Like, so you're trying to be over here at lead installer when you don't even know the basic refrigeration cycle yet. Let's pump the brakes, guy.
Yeah, and I've talked to guys that train, and they're like, you'd be surprised at how many people don't know the basic refrigeration cycle and stuff like that. So they preach the same thing. Anyone that I've known that like trains a lot of helpers, they're like, no, we always start at the basics. I don't care what it is. Like, let's start at the basics, and then obviously, like you said, like your equipment, know your equipment, um, and go up from there. Because yeah, if you get in over your head, it's a lot of information to take in. I would assume like when you started, I don't know if you got overwhelmed or anything like that, because it's a lot to learn, at least, and especially install with codes and everything. That's a lot to take in.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot. But I don't really remember much about being new at this point. I remember my first job, like my first day, and my first like bigger job, because normally we'd do like one system, one house, one day, right? But this system I had, it was like my first week, and it was this guy, and he was getting three new systems in this one house. So it was like he kind of got to know me, which I wasn't comfortable with, because the more they see you, I don't
Yeah.
know if you've had this feeling if you've ever done residential, but like if you start coming back 2 and 3 days, by day three they're like, I got this light over here. Could you just come over here and see if you can screw this thing? Like, and they start like asking for weird stuff, or like feeling like your buddies or something. And so he like, oh, be out with me more, asking me more things that I didn't want him asking me anything at all. I'm like, I don't know. I'm kind of doing this. Check with Igor.
Mm.
Uh,
Well, that's my whole thing. But like you coming from, um, your previous job, I think I've heard you say that customer service was like a strong suit for you. But
yeah.
I was like the complete opposite. So when I started, I didn't like talking to people. I didn't like explaining things. I didn't like saying anything. And I've gotten complaints like, oh, he like, and that's the customer service part is like a important part to this
Yes.
business, especially in residential. You guys are in people's homes every day. I mean, I do commercial and I thought it didn't apply to me, but it's the same thing because I've gotten complaints from people that are like, he was here, he fixed it, or I think he fixed it, but he didn't say hi or he didn't like,
Oh,
talk
I'm
to us.
the exact opposite because you see, when you go in and you like explain who you are and what you're gonna do and what to expect, they leave you alone, right?
Well,
Like they don't,
I didn't know that.
because people get anxious. They don't know what you're doing. They don't know that if that bang is normal or if something's about to come through the ceiling or what. So I try to like
Hmm.
overshare with what to expect because that way then they're not like in your way most of the time. Sometimes they still are.
Yeah,
Depends.
and sometimes you just have to go and, like I said, say like I got complaints about saying hi, so I got to go say hi, introduce myself, even if it's somebody that I've seen before. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna do this or do that, explain it to them, and like you said, it puts them at ease and everything. I just thought doing commercial because I strictly do commercial. I thought I didn't have to do that. I was like, oh, they hired me to fix it. I get the dispatch, I get everything, and then I come in and fix it. But customer service is a big part, and that you got to keep your customers happy. I mean, you need the business.
Yeah, because people long for like personal connection. So when you go in there and you like introduce yourself, and then maybe you come back a second time, they're like, "Oh, that's Adrian. I remember him." And then they are gonna be more likely to stick with you because they feel like there's a relationship there. Whereas if someone who doesn't go in and say hello never builds that relationship, next time it comes around, they're like, "Well, let me see if I can get a company to do it cheaper."
If I don't put the effort to follow up or, give them calls or anything like that, or stop by, they end up just calling somebody else, right? To them, it's just like we called somebody to fix it, it got fixed, and then they call around again and get someone cheaper or whatever it is.
Hmm.
But with my dad, what I've had to learn from him is how he becomes like instant best friends with everybody. And it's just, taking the time to talk to somebody basically. So he's had customers for like 17 years now. We've had like a few customers that have been with us this whole ride. And honestly, they were customers that he had at the other business that he worked at before. And they just loved him so much. So it's probably been more than 17 years, but they loved him so much that, when he had his own business, they're like, okay, we didn't want the company, we wanted you. So we're going to give you our business now. So I just didn't get it at first. And it took me a while to get.
Yeah, it's huge. And I do try to explain that aspect to people I train too, or, even coworkers that I have that maybe it's not their strong suit either. I try to explain that when you're dealing with anything that's mechanical, things are bound to fail. Failures happen when you are dealing with anything mechanical. And so if you don't take the time to build that relationship, build that trust, when that board goes out in 6 months, they're going to think it was your shoddy work and then they're going to call somebody else. Whereas if you take the time to make them, know you, trust you, they say, "Oh, well, I know Rachel went through this head to toe. She explained everything to me. She explained the things that she did extra for me. She wasn't cutting corners. This is just a bad board."
Mhm.
Whereas if you went the opposite route, they're like, "I just put this in 6 months ago. That company's no good. I'm going to go with someone else."
Yeah, and you hear it because I go behind companies a lot, um, because stuff like they're like they never fixed anything and something else went out and this and that. Like they talk, right? Like
Hmm.
if you go in there and like I just had one recently where I went in and like okay, I was like, because the other company had an issue with their walk-in cooler, I believe, and I went in there and it was like completely flat, and then like I was like, okay, we need to find a leak, fix the leak, and I'm like, but I don't know the history on this, so we're gonna take our time. And I explained everything to them, just to cover myself. There's a leak. Got to repair the leak first, pressure test it, make sure everything's good, and then we can charge it up. And then I had an issue with the fans. I'm like, okay, we have an electrical issue, so then we had to do that. And then after that, our TXV was acting up. So I was like, okay, like I had to explain them every process and step that we did because I was like, it's if you're not honest with them, because that's another big thing. If you're not honest with them, um, you got to get them to trust you. That's the main thing.
Yeah, and just like we were talking about earlier, telling them what to expect. Yeah, I'm here for this problem, but once we fix this, because of the age and the condition of the unit, I might find more things. Whereas if you don't communicate that, they're going to think, oh, well, they're just trying to sell me a new system. They're trying to make money off me. Well, no, your system's 25 years old and I've done everything I can and it's time for a new one.
And today's episode is also brought to you by Gree Comfort. I have heard nothing but high regards for Gree themselves. Gree offers not only just ductless mini splits that you might know them for, whether it's single zone or multi-zone. Gree has the Gree Flex and the Multi Pro for whole home and building cooling, so you guys can actually get systems, you know, for your house and stuff like that. They always have updated system documentation and live video trainings for contractors. They help you with your installations and make it as seamless as possible. You can follow them on Instagram and YouTube at Gree Comfort, and you'll get access to all their educational video content. I'll leave that linked below. And the balance I had to do when I started was I didn't talk. Now I do talk. I also sometimes talk too much, and I'm like, this is going over their head. So that's another thing that you have to keep in mind, because like I know some people get mad at us for saying the word like freon or anything like that, right? And it's like,
people got so mad at me for calling you guys just had an episode on this Pookie. I call it mastic paint. It's paint because you apply it with a brush. So I will forever call it mastic paint. But people get mad. They got big feelings about that.
Yeah, and it's, well, that is like a region thing, because I was like, I've heard it said Pookie, I've heard it down here say mastic, but like it's whatever you guys, it's like the lingo that you can use at your work, because like if you're dealing with customers, they're gonna say freon, or they're gonna say all these other things that you're like, that's not right.
Freon's just a brand. It's like calling a cotton swab a Q-tip. It's a Q-tip.
Yeah. Or Kleenex or anything like that. I'm like, oh, because I think I saw, because you're in that, or part of that women's pioneer group, right?
Yeah.
So like I've talked to Ash, because she did I want to say she called Freon, like she said Freon or something in one of her videos, and some guy like went off on her, and then the next video she showed like a tank that said Freon on it, right? Because it was the brand. And I was like, yeah, like who cares? Like Q-tip, Kleenex, like that's how we talk. And I was like, if a customer knows it by Freon, you're gonna say Freon, because if you start going with all these super technical terms, it's just gonna go over their head. So that's kind of what I learned dealing with customers, is sometimes you gotta talk to them, see how they understand things, and then explain it that way sometimes.
Yeah, like if a customer says to me Freon, I'll say Freon back. I'll use whatever language they use if they give me that cue, because I want them to know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, that's my whole thing, because when I started talking and explaining things, when I was like, okay, I gotta explain what I'm doing here, and then I'm using like superheat, or you know, all these big words to them, and they're like,
what are you talking about?
yeah, and they're just blank look. I'm like, okay, I have to kind of rework this, and then, you know, explain to them. So I mean, customer service is a big part. Getting to know your customers, and kind of doing all that, especially in the residential space like you. It's a big thing.
Yeah, I really like that part of it, the communicating with the customer part.
Is that your favorite part?
I think that's my favorite part. Igor, I don't even remember the last time you talked to a customer. I do everything. I do the morning greeting. I do all like the what to expect. I do the final walkthrough. They catch me with any questions, and
oh, he must love that then.
yeah, that's why he's golden. He's set. He's never getting rid of me.
I would, and I think I've told you, I would love to get him on here at some point, and just kind of see what we can talk about.
One of these, they're like, "Where's Igor?" He just, I don't know. He doesn't like to be the face on the screen. But I was wondering about you, because you're saying that you never liked even talking to customers. Now here you are hosting a podcast. How'd that?
I have friends, and that was kind of something I wanted to touch on with you, like as far as like social media. So we'll get into this, but yeah, it's funny because I have friends like friends that I grew up with that were neighbors and stuff like that. Like we're similar in age, and my parents saw like that family recently at something, and you know, we all follow each other on Facebook and stuff like that. And he's like, I would have never imagined, because he knew me from when I was little, never imagined that Adrian would be doing a podcast or anything like this. Like knowing how he is, and my mom's like, yeah, I don't know, like this whole thing is funny because, and I'm excited for the next year because I get to do the podcast pavilion now, and there's
Oh,
other things. Yeah, there's other things that I want to do with it, and it's just, I think like you have the same thing with your social media. You want to help people. So
mm.
like my thing started as like a Q&A, doing a live Q&A, stuff like that. And then they're like, "Oh, you want to hear it from so and so and this and that." And then people wanted to come on, and then I was like, "Okay, we're going to." The only thing with me is I always look at everything like a business. So I was like, I don't want to look dumb. So
Hey, I agree
get
with
all the
that.
professional gear and everything that I'm comfortable with, and
Yeah.
then let's see what we can do with it. And I've had a blast because it's an excuse to get people to sit down and kind of talk shop for like the hour or whatever it is. You go on
Yeah.
Instagram or whatever, YouTube, and you get so many people that are just helping each other or like hyping each other up. It's so cool to see.
Yeah, because when you surround yourself with people with the same mindset, like of course you're gonna like build those relationships faster. Like I would say, like some of the people that I know from online, I have better like professional relationships with some of the people that I see every day at the shop because our mindsets are we're just not on the same um, level as far as mindset and how we think about work. So I would definitely agree with that. Even like within the company I work for, and then the competition is the competition. But even like when I'm at the supply house, like with the competition, like I try to hype people up then too, because we're all
Yeah.
doing the same job, right? It's
Yeah, it's just when I started, that was like you couldn't talk to other companies. Like that was like a bad thing. Like they're trying to take your business and stuff like that. And my dad still worries about it every now and then. He's like, "Oh, what if we hire somebody like experienced, but then they want to take our business?" And it's like, I get it. But, I do make it a point. Like if I do talk to somebody, like we have guys that used to work for us that go have their own company, or, they work for somebody that usually it's like a family business, I think. Like somebody, like I have one that trained me really well, but his cousin opened up a business. So he went to work with him, and I still like talk it up with them at the shop. I as long as they're nice to me, I'll be nice to them. Like I'm grateful for like the stuff that he taught me and got me out of a bind a bunch of times, and that's the way I think it should be. It's just like when you talk to some people, especially the older guys, they give you that ugly look and they're like, "Oh, like, they don't want to talk." And then you go online and it's like you see all these people that are doing great things.
yeah, for sure. And then too, like with your podcast and like with us, like putting things out there on social media, like if you had told me 4 years ago that I would once like be considered to people to be an influencer, like to me that would be so laughable because I'm just so regular and I'm just like this mom and I'm just a regular person, you know? And I think people who knew me before all this will probably see my post and they're like, who does she think she is? Like, but it's one of those things. It's like somebody's got to put it out there. There's got to be things like because that's the thing. Young people, they want to be influencers, they want to be YouTubers, they want to do things and you have to be able to show them like, yeah, you can do those things and make money doing this. And you can have those things together. So if we don't
That
show people
is
it's possible, then how are they going to know?
that is so funny because, and I'll be honest, I used to do other things. I used to like fix electronics and stuff like that. And I've seen YouTube channels that I would watch, and they blew up, and they're like, I'm sure they're millionaires now. And I was like, if I would have known that, I would have probably got into YouTube a little sooner. But it's funny because my kids are like that too. They're like, they watch YouTube as well. And I think I started watching YouTube because of them. And now they're like, Dad, and like, I know my daughter knows that I do YouTube and stuff like that. I just try not to like advertise it. I don't want them to see it as a career yet or anything like that. Right? Because
Yeah.
they're like, Dad, can we do YouTube and this and that? I'm like, it's a little bit different. Like, I don't want my kids on YouTube or anything like that. Like, there's weird people out there. So like,
You're doing YouTube in the realm of HVAC. I feel like that's different than just like streaming yourself playing video games. That's different.
I forgot to ask him, but I think Jake has one of his kids that did that, and they got way more subs than he did, and he was a little like jealous about it. And I'm like, yeah, it's the kids now, man. Like that's what they're into. And like you said, it's
It's
funny because the younger generation, sees that. So I know some people have like an issue with the younger generation that are coming in that like start doing the influencing or whatever you want to call it like right away. But like to me, it's all trade awareness, and that's another big thing that I want to do with this, because like I'm not never thought I would be a podcaster, never really enjoyed it before, didn't like listening to them. And once I kind of found HVAC podcasts, I did get interested
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And then like, this takes a little bit of work to do. So if it wasn't for the awareness that we're putting out or getting the young people into it, like I've had so many young people on here, they get excited for these things, and it's like that's cool to see because we need more of that to me.
100%. Yep.
And my kid and my son was asking about money right now, but I think it's because he wants to buy what are the Robux or Roblox, whatever,
Mm, yeah,
right?
Robux. Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, if you want to make money, I was like, you can make a ton of it working for me and your grandpa. So now he's asking about it.
My kid wants V-Bucks, the Fortnite bucks.
I mean, it's so hard to keep up with all that. I don't think he plays Fortnite, or he probably wasn't as interested or something. But it's all about Roblox. He's like, for his birthday that he just had, he wanted those gift cards for that game. Like that's all he wanted. I was like, are you sure? All right.
I'm trying to teach my kid that it's such a waste of money to buy skins. Like that's not a good investment of money. Like I would so much rather like give you this money to go like buy something tangible at the store. And he's like, "No, I just want my guy to wear a different outfit." I'm like, I know.
It's funny because I'm super frugal. So like when I play, because I used to play games, I don't play that. I'm trying to get my mind off of work sometimes, where I want to play a video game or do something else, instead of being running a business or editing, because I do editing in my free time. But I'm super frugal to where like if I play a game, I'm not buying any of the extra things. I'm not buying the skins or I'm not buying the DLCs. Like I play the game for what it is and that's it. But my kids, they want everything that comes with it
For sure.
because they're not paying for it. You started because I'm assuming like no other, or you didn't see too many women doing it, and then you kind of got into it.
Well, yeah, because it's not like something you see all the time, like in the real world. I really had this like picture in my mind that like nobody's doing this. Like I should go on because nobody else is doing this. And then I started doing it and I found all these other women who are out there doing this, you know? And so I've connected with a lot of women who are out there, maybe not necessarily installing, but they're doing service work. They do some installs, or they're in other industries like working harder than I am, and I'm finding all these women out there in construction and in trades. And I got inspired when my mission was to inspire others. I ended up being inspired. So, and then like I started following like all these guys with these beautiful installs. I'm like, oh, I gotta up my game. Like, so I've grown a lot from just following other people. And so I think it's been great for me when the original intent was to help others. I feel like I've been helped by being part of this community too.
That is so funny because even like with me, I kind of did it during the whole COVID thing because I was like, I can do that, or I see crazy things at work and I just want to share them. Um, because working in restaurants, you see a lot of things, but I I started getting messages, right, that, oh, this helped me do this, or this helped me, that video that you did on this helped me and or inspired me. That was a crazy part. Like, oh, this is motivating or inspiring or anything like that. And I'm like, my stuff. I was like, okay. So that's kind of what kept me going as far as like keeping posting and all that.
Hmm.
And then, and like you said, I've learned so much, even in my own comments from people like telling me that a better way to do things or like something that I didn't know. Because I'll be honest, in my videos, I'm like, I don't know what I'm looking at, but I'm gonna figure it out. And then in the comments, I'll be like, oh, it's this. It works like this. I was like, oh my god, okay, thank you for that information. Or you go online, and what's the other thing? Like, it might be the competitiveness, right? Like you want to do as good as these other guys or better, and you kind of make yourself better as a technician, because that's what I get too out of it.
Yeah. And I don't even think that I could like do what some of these guys are doing. Like it's so clean and so nice. I'm like, I don't even have the opportunity to do that with what is sold or what is expected or what's existing. Like it's just never going to look that pretty, but it does inspire me to do like little things that will make it as pretty as it can be, right? So I don't do a lot of posting my before and afters because they're not all that wow. They're not
Oh,
like that.
same.
The competition is just too much. So I try to post relatable stuff and fun stuff. And two, when I first started, like I was I was kind of hesitant to do it because you don't want, or public scrutiny is kind of hard, like
Mhm.
nobody wants to be scrutinized on the internet by people who don't know you or know your heart. So like when I first started, like I made a couple promises to myself that I wasn't going to kind of sell myself out to try to grow a following, and two, to just everything that I do, I'm gonna honor and glorify God, and I'm not gonna hide from that. And so with those two things, I feel like I've done pretty good. And at this point, I'm not even looking for like a quantity of followers, like because I get unfollowed all the time, and it doesn't really hurt my feelings because I'm not going to change who I am or what I say to accommodate your feelings. I am who I am. If you notice, I don't know if people do or not, but I don't use filters. I don't put my body out there like some people do, and those are just my values that I stuck to from the beginning, and I'm not going to budge on that.
The guys that do those perfect installs, I mean, it's real work. Like that's their real work that they
Oh yeah.
show, and I love seeing it. But like you said, like when I go to, and I've done this too because, um, we do installs and we do stuff here and there, and it's like there's nothing to post because it looks the same, or like it there's not much to it. Like it's just plopped there. We don't have so many. Like I don't run long line sets or anything to be doing all these nice little bends and everything. Like it's just usually right out the wall or whatever it is. It's like it looks okay, but I'm not gonna post it.
Yeah, but I do try to post like some of that stuff too because I do think there's something valuable to
Oh
something
yeah,
relatable, because most people aren't doing that kind of work. And so when you show like, here's this application in this like nasty crawl space where like when someone sees that, like, oh, she gets it. That's what I go through. Like that's why my installs don't look like theirs, because that's what we're handed.
you don't have to be like a professional influencer or whatever you want to call it. Just post some pictures here and there, or comment and kind of help other people out. Like liking, commenting, whatever it is.
Yeah. And I really love the fact that like you like in life, like I'm not even talking about just with Instagram. Like for me, I feel like I hold some influence both online and like in my own work, like at my own workplace. Like because the way I present myself, the way I put myself out there, and I feel like I'm a leader, even though truthfully I hold the lowest position you can hold. Like some would argue that I hold one of the lowest positions, but yet I hold influence too. So I like to talk about that when I talk about leadership, because you don't have to be at the top to be a leader. You can be a leader right from the bottom.
Are you all into sports and stuff like that? Like you
I
and
mean,
and your husband?
yeah, I mean, we're like athletic. Like, are you talking about like watching sports?
Either one. Watching,
Um,
playing.
Watching sports got complicated because 10 years ago we moved from out of New England to North Carolina. And then, so like I stopped following New England sports because they weren't on mainstream TV here. So I
Mm.
kind of got away from all that, which lucky for us because now the Patriots are horrible. But yeah, we don't really follow anything like that on TV, but we do a lot of like sporting events like minor league baseball, minor league hockey. We go to a lot of like
Mm.
live sports stuff, and then the sports our kids are involved in. And then Igor actually plays soccer too, and he was playing semi-pro football for a while, and then went to semi-pro soccer for a while. And so we're always into something. I don't have an ACL on my right knee. I
What happened?
tore it I tore it in high school playing volleyball, and I got it replaced. So I got
Mhm.
a ACL replacement, and then I tore it again, and that was like, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago I tore it again, and when I went to the doctor, they were like, "Well, you don't really need it unless you're into like competitive sports or whatever. You can live without it." So now I just live without it. I don't have good like stability on my right knee, like as far as lateral movements. Like if I was to do shuttle runs, like I can't stop myself on my right leg or it'll go the wrong
It'll
way.
give out.
Yeah.
So like, does that affect you at all in your work or?
Yeah, I get sore sometimes because we do a lot of kneeling and a lot of
Oh
like
yeah.
full flexion kneeling where you're kind of like sitting on the back of your feet. And if I do that all day, like by the end of the day, it hurts, but not like I can't walk hurts. It's just sore.
Yeah, because I tore mine once and I got it repaired, but my doctor told me not to do rehab, and that was the worst decision ever. And I've had
Terrible.
yeah, 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 it was I don't know what he I think he was comparing me to like a high school kid that he had worked on, and he's like, yeah, he went back, or he or she went back to sports right away, like it's nothing and this and that. And I was like, I was still kind of young. I think I was right out of high school though, because I was still playing like in these little leagues around the city and stuff. And I tore it playing basketball at an open gym, and I went to him and we were trying to figure it out, and I got the surgery, and he, like I said, he told me that I would be fine and I didn't need this, and I've never had a surgery like that before, so I didn't know better. I was like, man, I'm in a lot of pain, and like it ended up like getting stiff, like I lost a lot of mobility, and the
Mm.
doctor just like screwed me over. So I went to another one, had to get some other procedures done, clean it out, get it kind of fixed again, and now I get more mobility, but I still can't bend it completely.
Oh wow. So
So,
that must be working. Yeah.
well, I was gonna say, because I've heard you talk about the ACL and you don't have one. I at the time I probably should not have maybe even repaired it. I should have just been like, because I was out of high school, I should have been like, I need to get a real job, forget the sports. But I was like, no, I'm gonna get back into it and I'm gonna get back to playing and all that. So I got it
Yeah.
done.
But my first replacement was fine. Like I had no restrictions when my first one was good while it was good.
Mhm.
It was just then when I tore it again, they said I can do it or I could not, and then I chose not to because if I had chose to do it, I would have been out of work and then the rehab time. Whereas with my first one, I was in high school, so I didn't really have to worry about getting to work or having time off.
How long
The
ago
worst,
was the second one?
probably about 6 years ago.
Oh, okay, before the HVAC.
Yeah.
No, but I tell people because like, and I had a friend, super unlucky. He always got, because he was into football and basketball. He always tore up his knees. Like he had the meniscus tears and the ACL tears, and he got the donor ACL, and then
That's what I had.
and then he
Yeah.
tore it again. And it's like, man, he's and it was in both knees. Like he tore them up, and he was a border patrol agent. I haven't talked to him in a while, but like he was a border patrol agent. I'm like, dude, like, what are you gonna do? Because that's also intense. I have a couple of friends that are into border patrol, and that gets intensive too because sometimes they go on chases or anything like that. And I have
Hmm.
a buddy. He's well over 6 feet, and he was pushing 400 pounds, or I don't know what it was. And he's a big guy, and he loved that part of his job, like chasing people. He's like, when
Yeah.
when shit goes down, I love it. And he's like, he gets on into it. So I can't imagine, because my other buddy, like, I think he was trying to get like a more of a desk job after that.
Sometimes it feels like, especially in the summer, Igor and I just get drilled like day after day with like these hard jobs. And I'm like, I love money. Like everyone loves money, but my body, like I can't do it 5 days in a row. Can you please throw me a heat pump, please?
When I started, I was really bad. I was like, I can do anything, even with that surgery I had. And now I think about it more. I have knee pads. I have, the umbrella, everything. I bring out everything I can because I want to take care of myself now.
Yeah, I've noticed like on my I wear a t-shirt. Igor insists on a long sleeve shirt year round and I just can't do it. I get too hot and I know it's better for you to protect you from the sun, but I wear a t-shirt most of the year. But I've noticed I'm starting to get sunspots on my
Oh,
arm. I'm like, I don't know if I'm getting old or just too much sun exposure, but I gotta do something about that.
that's how I felt like, but on my face, like I started getting these, like, I don't know if they're like freckle looking things. I'm like, okay, that's probably the sun.
Yeah, they're called sunspots. It kind of looks like freckles.
So
I don't have,
now
thank God. I don't know what I'm doing, but
it's always in it, yeah, because it's in the part that's like exposed. Because I wear glasses, but obviously my cheeks are exposed. But then like I said, I started wearing like those big hats, right? You got to wear like the sun hats or the straw hats or something to keep you covered. So I do
mhm.
that now, And the whole long sleeve thing, I've been there. I don't like them either. And Texas, it stays hot all year round, and I was like, I can't. So one of my guys wanted long sleeves, so we got polyester ones, and I've been able to tolerate them, but yeah, I don't feel comfortable in them.
I would
Um,
wear a tank top if they would let me. I don't want anything, like, it just because then I'm sweating and then my shirt is wet, and then it's horrible. I don't know how Igor does it. He'll wear, like, a wet long sleeve shirt all day in the attic. I'd rather have insulation all over my skin.
oh wow, that's saying something. Um, no, but I guess you have to get used to it because I used to. Well, we switched everything to polyester, so I have polyester t-shirts now too, and they do dry better. But I don't know. Sometimes like you just want to like when I do have the full gear on, knee pads, the hat, either the long sleeves or the arm sleeves that I wear. Like I'm like at least I'm safe. But like yeah, it's something else when you're drenched in sweat and you're all like dealing with all these weird conditions like you guys do attics and stuff like that. Like it's miserable. When you got into this trade and you had those days of like the attics, the insulation on you, the hot attics, the sun, whatever it is, like what made you like stick it out and stay in the trade?
I think it's just, like, refusal to quit, refusal to fail. Like, I just refuse to quit or fail, or I don't know. Maybe it's pride. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I'm like, I'm gonna do it, and there's failure is not an option. And then you just get used to it, kind of.
And then you started like enjoying it.
Yeah. Well, I don't ever really enjoy it, but I will say that I prefer to be sweating in the attic in the summer than to be cold in the winter. So I think that's what gets me through. Like, I get through the summer by thinking, well, at least my hands aren't numb. And then I get through the winter thinking, well, at least I'm not sweating to death. And then so you just keep going through that cycle. Like, you're always trying to, like, rationalize things in your mind. Like, oh, it could be worse because of this circumstance. And then when you get back to that circumstance, you're like, well, at least it's not that one. And then it rolls over year after year.
Yeah, my whole thing, I mean, it doesn't get cold here too often, but like when it does get cold, I'd rather be in my own house under the blanket or with the heater on or something like that. I like that aspect of it. I'd rather be working out in the summer. As much as I complain about it cuz it gets hot and I'm like,
It gets
man, the summer you got so many calls in the summer, you got so much work, but I do prefer working in the summer versus working in the rain and the cold weather, all that kind of stuff. I would much rather have a hot day.
Oh yeah, rain number 1, worst part of this job, rain. Yeah, I really do love it, and I do kind of like the heavy lifting because I'm really into CrossFit. Like, I'm into weightlifting, so I like that kind of stuff to, like, apply what I can do in the gym in a real life scenario, which is like the whole goal of CrossFit. I don't know if you know anything about CrossFit, but it's really, people look at it like it's like these crazy movements, but it's all just functional movement, right? So, like, sometimes I'm doing things at work and I'm like, I can really feel myself engaging my body in the same way I would engage at the gym, So I feel like I actually like that aspect of it.
And that's important for anybody listening, any of the guys as well. Like, that's why I do get into working out and lifting weights when I can. And it's usually, I work out. I don't do CrossFit or anything crazy like that, but like I work out to, for certain situations like at work, like I got to be able to lift things. And then you got to think about it too. Like when you lift, I remember, because you don't want to throw your back out. Like there's different ways or proper ways to lift things. You got to be conscious about that kind of stuff because if not, you're gonna destroy your body. I've had plenty of days, and one of them was me and my brother because like, and then I asked you earlier like how you guys work together because I work with family. They get on my nerves sometimes, and we bicker at work. So my brother is he wants to do everything a certain way, and me and my dad are kind of like, let's just get it done. And there was something with a compressor. It was a huge ass compressor. I'll give him that. But like he was like he wanted to lift it a certain way or anything like that. And I'm like, look, just take it out of the box. It's not that heavy. I took it out. I swung it out. I put it down, for him and everything. I felt fine until after work. My back just gave out.
So
And that's what I get for showing out, right? I was trying to show him up. I'm like, just do it, right? And then I was like, oh, I should have listened to him because I threw my back out. sometimes it's a bad thing, but I like to work alone a lot because it'll get done quicker. Unless I need to train somebody, then yeah, I'll take the extra time.
Yeah.
Um,
I like training people, but I need them to like take into consideration what they're assigning me to do at the same time as training because it makes everything 2 or 3 times as long
oh yeah,
to
that's what I mean. Like during certain times, I'm not doing that. I'm like, I'm just gonna get it done, and I'd rather go by myself.
I
Uh,
do. That's the communication with the customer, and I do really like training new people because I
yeah, that's
feel
good.
like I talk about this all the time. When I was brand new, like Igor was so invested in me being good that like I feel like I got really good training, right? And I feel like some guys they end up not being that great because they never have anyone invested in them trying to train them well. So I try to step in and do that and explain to them the things that I wish somebody told me in the beginning. Or those questions that I had to ask myself. I try to avoid them even having to ask questions because I like to go through everything that I was asking in the beginning. Like you said, you don't have to be mechanically inclined. You don't have to have experience in the trade. Like if you want it, I think it'll come to you. It's just a matter of how bad do you want it. Like you said, in those hard days when we're in the attic and we're sweating, or it's the dead of winter and our hands are cold, like what gets us through it is the just refusal to quit. So if you have like that tenacity, that grit, I call it grit sometimes, you're just gritty enough to make it through the hard days, you can learn anything.
After I got into the trades, I started working on my cars and stuff like that. Like I started doing other things,
Mm-hmm.
fixing things around the house. Like you get a lot of skills, particularly in HVAC, because we do so much.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because like I like things around the house, we don't hire anybody to do anything.
I'm real
The
stubborn with that too.
the only thing we've ever hired like contractors to do was to do the roof at our old house, and
Mm.
just because like what do you do with all those shingles, and then like I'm not getting on the roof, so it would be Igor basically alone. Um but yeah,
Are you
like
are you afraid of heights?
I'm afraid of ladders.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not the
Oh my God. Like
ladder. Like I
there
told Igor, like, I would help. We changed our own siding on the house, and so like I helped like from the ground, or like I'll do like an A-frame ladder, 8, 10 feet, fine with that. But like once you get over like 10, 12 feet, and it's like an extension ladder, I get real weird. Like I like in my head, I'm like, all right, Rach, you got this, and then I get up there, and my body's like, you don't got it. You need to get down because you're gonna die. So I like in situations where I have to, I'll push through it and I'll stay up there, but I really try to avoid it. Igor now, he doesn't care. He'll
okay.
climb a ladder, he'll get on the roof. He like I don't know. He's like, you just don't think about it. I was like, it's all I can think about. Like I can't if I'm up there, like I can't do anything else because my whole body is focused on just being there. Like
It's
that's
hard. That is so commercial rooftops are not in your future, I would assume.
we did one time, it didn't go well. I stayed down
Okay,
and
because
I climbed up the ladder just enough to pass the tool and then back down.
okay, because like we deal with a lot of them that are over 20. I have one that is way over 20 feet, and my extension ladder barely gets up there. I need to get a new one, a longer one, because like it's a customer that we didn't have before. Now we have like a lot of their maintenance contracts, and yeah, that's the hardest part of what I do, the commercial side, is those high ass roofs because once you get up there or once you're going up there, you don't think about it at first, and then like you start like halfway up, you're like, "What am I doing up here?" Right? And it's like it, the worst thing you can do is look down, but you get.
Well, the older that we get, the more we start thinking about our own mortality too. Like, so I feel like
I
where
never
when
used to think about it when I started.
I was a lot more fearless, and now as I'm getting older, like I don't know, I got more to lose. Like I got kids that need a mother. I'm like, it's not worth it.
It's weird because I had the same thought like after I had my kid, and now that we have a family, like I was like, I need to be a little more careful because like one wrong step or move, that's a long way down, you know. Yeah, we have some, like I said, that are super high, and some that are sketchy. And even with my brother or with my dad now, because he's gotten older and stuff, and I'm like, you guys can stay on the floor. Like I've gotten used to it so much, doing it for so long now. I've been doing this like what 17 years, so I'm used to it, but I still don't trust it. So I like on the sketchy ones, I'll tell my brother and my dad like, you guys can stay down here, just hold the ladder or something, you know, like if I need anything, I'll call for you.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's me because if Igor's up on the ladder, like he's way up there, he doesn't care, but I'm on the ground, like I care. Like I don't
Yeah.
want you to, like I'm afraid for you. You are my livelihood. Like what am I going to do if you break both legs? Like I can't hold this ship down myself. Like that's horrible.
Yeah,
Is it worth it?
I've been like that where I'm like I'll take the risk, but yeah, it's hard. And my
But
brother,
imagine your girlfriend on the ground watching you, like
now
don't fall. Don't
she's
fall.
better off
She's
not seeing. Yeah, she's better off not seeing the sketchy ones that I get on. But yeah, my dad's cool because my dad, runs this thing, but he's always checking in on us. He's always worried about us, and he always wants to put himself in there first. And I'm like, I got this. But yeah, it's the rooftops are sketchy. I can say that.
Yeah, I don't like that. But heights, I'm not afraid of heights. Like I love a roller coaster. If I'm
So it's the
strapped in, I feel
so it's the
secure.
ladder itself.
Yes, it's the like instability of a ladder.
Oh my god, because like the extension ladders, when you get them fully extended and everything, they wobble like crazy.
Mhm.
That's why
Yep.
I got that lockjaw ladder grip. So like your initial trip up, it's a little scary, but then I lock that thing in. I'm like, okay, this thing's not gonna fall over. It's not gonna slide over. I'm good. But when you are fully extended, that is the worst part because I do have a couple that are really high, and my ladder's fully extended. It wobbles like crazy, and when it gets windy here, it's a little scary.
Oh, terrifying.
All right. So like I said, I don't want to keep you too long. I appreciate you for making the time to come on. I really enjoyed the conversation. I really
Thank
enjoy what you do on social media. It's cool to see you doing your thing and installing and being as good or better than a lot of the technicians out there.
thank you. I
In
appreciate
your
that.
4th year doing this,
Yeah.
that's really
Well, I'm in
amazing.
my fourth year technically still. So it'll be 4
Third.
years in January.
That's awesome. So I appreciate you for coming on and everybody watching and listening. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.